thinking about sharing the BookTube Prize Judge experience with you. And forgive me if someone has already done this, but I have probably not watched all of the BookTube Prize videos, but I thought I would maybe do a kind of step-by-step for anybody that was wondering what the process is like. And then if you kind of want to do it, but you don't know what the process is like and you're intimidated and not sure if you'd have time, and this way you could watch these kind of little vloggy videos and decide if you do have time. So the first thing that Robert did, he coordinates this whole thing, which is quite impressive, I have to say, was he compiled a list of over 100 titles. And so depending on what you signed up for, you might get one list or two. I got two because I signed up to do both nonfiction and fiction. And so he sends an initial list with the books and the authors. And what this initial list is a chance for you to read through the books and then offer up any other books that might be options that would qualify for people to vote on, for the judges to vote on. So I did not offer up any other books because A, I'm not really up on the new releases, so I don't pay that much attention to that. B, there was a lot of books on these lists already, 200 books, so I didn't feel the need to add more that I would have to then go through, because what I did was go through, and what I did initially was I looked through my library catalog, and so if my library had the book, I put a green dot beside the book. My library had almost every single book on this list, which was amazing. I think there's only two maybe that the library does not have, which is great, because if you were someone who couldn't afford to buy a lot of new books, you could potentially get them all through the library. I know that my library, though, is probably could have more than the average library, so I'm not sure, but so that was the first thing I looked for. The second thing I did was I read through all the synopses, and all these ones that are highlighted in orange, those are the books that I was personally interested in reading. So I thought I had to pick 48. So I narrowed it down to 48 in my initial search. I also checked off audio, so I wanted to know if any of these books were available in audio, because you know, when you're reading that many books, you want to be able to do some on audio if you're worried about time. And then I also put some X's beside some of the ones that I thought, oh gosh, I really don't want to read that. And some which are ones that I liked but didn't have room for, etc. So on both lists I did this, and then Robert sent an updated list this week, so a few titles extra that were added that qualified. So I went through and added those in. He did send another list, but I didn't feel the need to print it out and use more paper. I just thought I could write them in. And then we have to pick. So the next step for me is to submit my votes, and I get to pick 20 from each category. It was kind of hard to narrow it down, because once I had gone through and picked out all the ones that I was interested in reading, which is a lot more than 20, then I had to try to narrow them down and decide which ones I really want to vote for. And my strategy, I don't know how this is going to work. I have no idea what the end results will be, but I didn't tend to pick books that I knew were very popular. And I did that because I mean, I have picked popular books on here. I have picked books that I've heard about on BookTube, books that, you know, have had a lot of buzz. But the reason I didn't vote for some of the most popular ones is because I knew they'd probably get in anyway. And so, and they're not necessarily the most interesting for me to read either. So, like, some of them are books that I feel like I will read eventually. down the line, but I wouldn't want to read right now. And again, if I know that people are probably going to vote for them, then I tried to pick other books that that I really want to get on the list and that I really would love to read, rather than picking ones that seem like a sure bet. So that is the initial stages of the BookTube prize. I don't think that this took that much of my time. If you wanted to do it this way, this probably took me about 2 hours off and on to look up all the books and read the synopses and highlight them and think about them. So I don't think that's unreasonable for the amount of time that I have, but just so you know, in future, that's how long it took. So I'll check in periodically and give you little updates on the process, but that's it for now. So I'll check in again soon. Good morning, everybody. It is Sunday, January 26th, and Robert just announced the 2 long lists for the BookTube prize. So I wanted to check in with you and talk to you about how I feel about the long list. So I have been chosen to be a judge in the nonfiction round for the first round. And out of the 48 books that were chosen on the long list for nonfiction, I voted for 13 of those. So I thought that was pretty good. It's not 50%, but you know, I think the interesting thing about this will be this process is going to force me to read some books that I wouldn't have normally read. So there's some books on here I didn't vote for and I didn't even highlight. So if you're as a reminder, my list has highlighted the ones that I'm interested in reading, and then the underlined books are the books that have been chosen for the long list, have been voted on by everyone. So I'm not going to tell you what group I'm in because we're not supposed to kind of divulge the details of that. I will tell you that out of my group, there were 3 books that I had chosen that I wanted to read. I believe all 3 of them were actually books that I voted for as well. And I've just put 4 of the books on hold. Actually, I put all 6 books on hold at the library. 2 of them are not available right now. So one of them is checked out and I'm number 9 in line. So I'm not sure how long that will take. I may see how quickly I move up the list and potentially buy that book if I don't think I'm going to be able to get it in time. And the other one is the only audiobook on the list out of the 6. So I have put that on hold, and that audiobook is supposed to be available in about 2 weeks. So I think that's great because that means that I can do a different audiobook in February or for the beginning of February out of some other books that I'd like to read this month coming up, because February is Black History Month, and Jessie at Bow Ties and Books hosts Blackathon, and so I did want to read some books for Blackathon as well. So I'm overall really excited and happy about the list, and excited to get to the first round. From the fiction list, 16 of the books that I voted for were chosen. So I really like that. There's a few that I'm really hoping get knocked off. There's a few that I was disappointed that didn't get included. And I think, as I spoke about previously in my strategy for not voting for super popular books, unless I was really, really invested in wanting to read them, paid off in some ways, but not so much in others. I was actually surprised at some of the books that weren't included in the long list for the fiction category. But you know, that's how this works. People vote for things based on buzz and their own personal preference. And so in some ways I'm going to be reading books that I wouldn't normally be reading. And that is that. So we're on our way. Reading officially starts on the 1st of February, giving people time to get their books. I have 2 books to finish up this week so that I'm ready to go for my nonfiction judging. I don't know how my strategy will be for reading yet, whether I will read one at a time, whether I'll read multiples. I feel like I'll definitely have one fiction book going just because I'd like to, like I said, read some books for Blackathon. And at the same time as I'm reading my judging. So I may try to read 3 at a time, 2 nonfictions and 1 fiction, just to balance out and see how that goes. I'm not sure if I'm going to take notes or if I'm going to just record my thoughts in video format. I haven't really thought that far in advance, and I think I'll be pretty relaxed about it and not, you know, create too stringent a structure for myself for this first round. I really have to feel my way into this and see what works best with my time, just what I have to offer and how I can keep track will all kind of be figured out this round, or maybe I'll change it each round and see how that goes too. Who knows? But this is so super excited. I think there's a lot of buzz and excitement around this, and I'm really looking forward to getting started. And we have until the end of March to submit our votes. So I'm actually traveling for the last 2 weeks of March. So I think I'll try to have most of the books read by mid-March. I think that will work best for me, and then I can just take a couple books with me on my trip, and I won't have to have too much pressure while I'm traveling to finish reading anything. But again, that will depend on how well the books, how well I can get through them, and just the pace of life as we go along. So I will be back again. I will definitely vlog my experience of reading for the first round and share that. I'm not sure what format those videos will take, but time will tell. So thanks so much for watching. I'll be back again soon with more BookTube Prize judging videos.